I'm Jay.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Ian.
And this is a very special episode of Life Goes On. Remember that show? Yeah, right. Life goes on. Blah, blah.
That's
No. We are here with our review of Spider-Man Brand New Day. And here's how it's going to go. Couple minutes. We're just going to give you an overview. Not a huge spoilery episode, but when we give you the warning, if you have not seen the film, turn this off, run to the theater, go see the movie, come right back, sit down, and watch this review because I think you'll like it. So, gentlemen, let's get right into it. This is the fourth Tom Holland Spider-Man helmed movie. It is now post-blip, and we have a lot of time between when Ned and MJ forgot about our hero Peter Parker, and now he's just a crime-fighting spider. And I think that is the perfect way to see Spider-Man, as the ground level fighting crime Spider-Man. That is my favorite version of Spider-Man.
It reminds me of the Spider-Man I saw most often. It's like when I was a kid growing up, the cartoon that I watched Spider-Man or the comics I'd read, he's always an adult. Like, he works at the Daily Bugle and he has a girlfriend named MJ. Like, there are all these things about him. Like, he's an adult in New York City who's navigating everything. He wasn't always like a young kid. I feel like I read those comics later, but like most of the stuff I saw in the 90s, he was all like adult Peter Parker. And that's what we got with this one.
Yeah. And it came from the, high school age Spider-Man. We had that for 3 years. And now we had a gap, and then now we have adult Spider-Man. But some of those things are missing, right? We'll talk about that in the spoilery review. But that's my biggest positive, is that this is the Spider-Man I've been waiting to see. Crime fighter, in this case, Aunt May, but, his guardians are gone. He has that lesson: with great power comes great responsibility. And he's fighting crime. That's the Spider-Man I love to see. And that was my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome to witness, is that he's a confident Spider-Man who, Spider-Manning at 100%. Instead of like a Spider-Man who's just kind of learning the ropes. Because we get a lot of superhero movies where they're just learning their powers, or they're just starting off.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see him like at maximum capacity.
Right. And it was also interesting. I do think there was some matriculation, right? There's this, he's growing up. He's, they're now post college. They're graduating from MIT. They're trying to find themselves, all of them, Ned, Spidey, Peter, and MJ, right? She's looking for a job post college, right? They're trying to get their footing, and he's trying to actually now deal with his powers growing, right? That's a big theme in the movie too, right? So he is very confident, right? I mean, he's had all these mentors, right? He's had Tony's gone, Aunt May is gone. He's had all these things. He is very much confident. And he has to now deal with the challenges of life, and sort of he goes back to the lessons that he's been taught all along, but he has to have the confidence to overcome them and have the grit and the mental fortitude to learn how to deal with them as an adult in a lot of ways, which I think is really, if you think about it, we've seen so many themes of fatherhood in Marvel, but this is different. This is actually someone that has confidence instilled in themselves, right? And is going through life, a little bit on their own. He kind of rediscovers the relationship with his friends and things. But you're right. It is really amazing to see he has these other connections. And as an adult, I think this is something we can echo off of, right?
Yep.
How do you find friends? Right? How do you do those things?
I would say sit next to him in a movie theater.
Right? He now has to learn how to, work with Frank, and rediscovers a relationship with MJ and Ned. and other things that we'll talk about in this movie too, right? I personally really loved the relationships in this movie, whether it was
they're great,
the Punisher and Spidey, or it was even Spidey and there's one of the new Avengers, and even MJ and Punisher had this really kind of fun rapport, right? Where they kind of broke Peter out of his shell a little bit and gave him this confidence that I really loved. And I thought, of the Marvel franchises, this one has always been so consistently good, and really, I thought, there's a character in the movie that says, there are things that are small potatoes, and you could think of those as the small street level stuff. Spider-Man branched all of the potatoes, right? The whole potato crop. You touch things in Avengers, you touch things at the street, Daredevil, Punisher level with this, and even, expanded to, we'll call it spoilers later, to entities that Marvel hasn't really touched upon since Deadpool, right? Yep. So I really loved, I don't know if it was the best Spider-Man movie, but this was definitely a big win for Marvel Studios, in my opinion.
In a time
I think
where
they needed one.
Yeah, in a time where they needed one. There's been a lot of superhero fatigue, and I'll get into this when we do the spoiler thing, is the difference between a superhero movie and a comic book movie. So, Ian, your highlight, please, my good sir.
My highlight in this, I think, is that I loved this movie a lot. And I think my highlight will get a little spoilery, so we could cover more of it later. But I thought, actually, no, it won't get spoilery. Because I was going to say the pairings of characters in this are really interesting about his development. And each of these little characters brings out a different part of him as a character. I thought that was really awesome. But I don't want to spoil who they are and why they bring that out in him yet. But
we definitely saw some in the trailers. We saw Banner, Punisher,
right? Yes.
Right, and those are the two main ones.
Right. And I think that's really cool how these different characters bring out a different side of him, where, the Punisher is a lone wolf. The Punisher does it all on his own and gets angry. And it's like, that's such an interesting character to watch Spider-Man interact with. And we don't get enough of that. We have like 1,000 Marvel characters, and then they're kind of thrown in there like, little ice cream on the top of something. They're just like, there's not enough substance to it, where this was great. And Banner and how he played off of Peter and what he's thinking and evolution and so awesome.
Yeah.
But I was going to say my highlight was the costume.
Oh, so
because
good.
This costume in particular, you can see it in the trailer, it's a hybrid. So now I was so afraid that this movie would not be as good as No Way Home. When they had 3 Spider-Men and it blew our minds, and like pretty much a Sinister Six movie too. It's like we got a rogues gallery of villains fighting 3 Spider-Men from all these different generations. Man, that movie was insane. I was like, I love that. What do you do after that?
Yeah.
And this is the 4th movie, like the 4th in a string of movies. That's a tough one to do. And I thought it did it so well.
Yeah.
And so the costume is a combination, since he met Andrew Garfield, and he met Tobey Maguire, that his new outfit in this one, I think, is the most comic accurate, looks the most like I've seen Spider-Man on the page. He has the raised webbing, but like the red and the blue values, and like it wasn't super textured. And
Did you notice too?
That very fabricy.
It was. You could see it ripple.
Oh,
in the wind.
It felt so real. You could see his eyes through his lenses.
Yes.
And I thought that was such a cool touch.
Yep.
Tactile. It felt really real. And I thought the suit, I've always loved the Spider-Man suits and seeing the innovations they have.
Right.
Because, then I went, well, that's spoiler. So I'll talk later about stuff. But I think Marvel has had a history of being afraid to do the comic costumes. They've gone with black leather, or gone like, oh, that looks too weird on screen. We can't do that. So just to see Marvel now in this generation really embracing these costumes that totally capture the comic book vibe, awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, we are 9 minutes and some odd seconds in. So I think it's time to drop the big spoiler warning. So if you're watching this and have not seen this film, first off, what's wrong with you? Go see it.
Yeah. I
right
saw
now.
it twice. Go see it.
Out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got to see it again.
It's definitely
too.
worth seeing in the movie theater. It's definitely one of the best Marvel movies. Definitely up there. It I think it's like almost tied for No Way Home. Honestly, like it's so good. It's really good.
I'll tell you why I think it's better than No Way Home in a certain context. But that is a spoiler.
Spoilerville. Here we go.
We are going to drop spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow. This film, bridging the gap between all the things about Marvel that I love. The Punisher, mutants. Yes, mutants, because we see the first appearance of a Jean Grey, I would say an X-Man in this universe. I would say that Wolverine and Deadpool kind of like tangential to the story. This is in the MCU.
Yeah.
Right.
I almost feel like it was a half X-Men movie.
Yes.
Like there was so much X-Men in this, and themes of like suppressing mutant genes and
I think Spider-Man was part of the X-Men at a few points. He joined the X-Men, he joined the Avengers.
Fantastic Four, and it's so odd to see all these characters so separate from each other. That to see Hulk, Punisher, Jean Grey, all these characters together, that was so cool. Yeah. And a Scorpion, a live-action Scorpion, finally. I've always loved Scorpion. That was so awesome.
Ramrod, Tombstone,
right? Yeah,
Boomerang.
Those were kind of throwaway-ish.
But it's in there, and that's
awesome.
So what I was saying before, a comic book movie. This was not a superhero movie. I feel like Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home, those are superhero movies. This was one of the first comic book movies I've seen in a long time, a real comic book movie. And I would say comparatively to Superman last year, that was a comic book movie.
Right.
And there is a difference between superhero movies and comic book movies. I think superhero movies give you that over the top, big action, trash ring in the sky, giant villain, right? Blue beam goes to the sky, right? This was a comic book movie because the narrative was the big blue beam in the sky. It was the big trash ring that they had to break up, right? It was the narrative,
and the character relationships. Oof,
it was amazing. The fact that you have Spider-Man working in the city, and again, this is post Daredevil season 2, so the vigilante law is gone. Frank Castle's working out in the open. I mean, he's driving a van down the street, which having the battle van, I mean, like I was jumping up and down in my seat.
That was cool.
That was my favorite part. That was my spoilery favorite part of this film. It was a comic book film. All these characters, the narrative was driven by emotion, and when you read it on the page, you can feel it in your chest, right? You can feel the fact that Spidey is by himself, and now MJ and Ned are back in town, right? They were at MIT for 4 years. He was following them on TikTok. Now they're in town.
Tough.
Now they're right near him.
Yeah.
Right?
What a cliffhanger to have in all those years.
Right.
That was a tough one to leave us on. That like they remember him and he doesn't tell them.
Yeah.
That was so hard to wait this whole time. That like this movie was supposed to be like catharsis for that.
Right.
Like, man, that was
the last 30 seconds was. The last 30 seconds was.
Oh yeah.
Right. So yeah, my favorite part of this film was that we saw finally a comic book movie, right? And it's one of the first ones we've seen in a long time. I think the Batman in 2022, the one with Robert Pattinson, that was also a comic book movie, but in a different vein, right? This was your typical Marvel comic book movie. When I say Marvel, I mean the book, not the movie studio. This was a Marvel comic. The Batman was a DC graphic novel.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking like movie and film. It's like, so some of these Batmans get close to film, or like Christopher Nolan, I'd argue that those are films.
Oh, they are films.
Where it's like, it's secondary that it's like they are these amazingly crafted films by someone who's a filmmaker.
Yes.
And it's the Joker and Batman, but like, damn.
But it's the Joker and Batman.
So
not in a comic book world, in our world.
Yes.
Right. So I liked seeing a comic book movie. Ian, what about you?
I was going to yes and that, because who'd win in a fight, Punisher or Hulk? We got it. That was so okay. Who'd win a fight, Spider-Man or Hulk? Like, that's so cool to see them fighting each other, and like no one really gets hurt, but like that was so awesome.
The Punisher didn't even want to fight Hulk.
Right? I know.
Spidey was like, "Are you doing this because you don't want to fight the Hulk?" And Frank Castle's like, "Yeah." I mean, he did come in with an M60 and just started. And what are you gonna do?
Right?
Best line. What are you gonna do? Tickle him to death?
Oh yeah. I thought the Jean Grey powers were so cool, and they used it in the narrative. I love like all the actors. These are all like dancers, right? They're doing like body isolation that like, oh, I just got taken over with mind powers.
Right.
You know, they do like the dance. That's so cool. And watching Jean's powers jump person to person.
Right.
That's not CG. That's not a special effect.
That was just that was acting.
Yeah, that's in shot. That's in camera doing that. That was so inventive.
Yeah.
And then the scenes they got from Jean Grey. It's Zendaya and Tom on the roof. They're married, but she has to pretend she doesn't know him.
Right.
But now she's remembering him. And then it turns out it's not. Then there's a turn in the scene, which is my favorite thing in movies, where it turns out the whole time it was Jean Grey. Oh, that was amazing. So amazing.
That was really good.
And it's all Zendaya's acting and Tom's act. Like it's all the two of them who like, they're married. That's so that is so awesome. And that's not special effects. That's not CG. That's not a big giant Hulk smashing up a city. Yeah. Acting and story and plot. And that was just such a good way to use the villain.
The acting and the dialogue was so good. Sadie Sink was amazing as Jean Grey.
Yeah, she was.
I mean, just unbelievable. And the personal story that they kind of brought out behind Jean Grey too with her sister, I thought was really great. Like you said, Jay, not only is it an Avengers movie, it's also an X-Men movie too. Very much an X-Men movie. Very much that story, like you were saying, of you have suppression, all those things that the X-Men kind of franchise is known for, right?
Oh yeah.
I also thought that the special effects were amazing. Just even thinking about Peter's webs and then him going from having these arachnid hormones and then being able to shoot them out through his body, right? But even just the different things that happened with the webs, where he woke up kind of like in a cocoon hanging outside the apartment. The things he did in the fight scenes were different. I think when we saw Supergirl, it was very one note punchy. Yep. And this just the choreography, the thinking, the all of the special effects and how well they blended with the acting that went on. And when Peter and Spidey learn how to control their power and embrace it was amazing.
So it's a new director.
Yeah.
So I heard this. So I saw the movie twice in between. That it's the director of Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And I went, of course. I thought you could totally see that.
Yep.
And it's the creativity and staging in these fights.
Yeah.
Because we've seen some that are done poorly, like Supergirl, where it's very punchy. It's up close. I almost can't see what they're doing.
Right.
It's the camera zooming around so much that like it's just kind of boring. This was so dynamic.
Absolutely.
And so all over in so many different fight styles. And wow. It was just so entertaining. Like I saw it twice and I was not fazed. Some of these I wouldn't see again, but like this was one I wanted to see. Awesome a second time right after.
So did we cover all our favorites, all of our big parts? Derek,
I would like to actually Yelena, right? I mean, spoilers. I mean, Yelena also. Yes, I mean, like Florence Pugh was amazing in it again, right? Playing that role, but again, it's like how you have that connection to the bigger world, which I don't know if I think it's not a critique, but I'm wondering how they're going to bring Spidey into that bigger Avenger universe, right? And the one thing I'm afraid of, and this is just getting, this is putting the cart ahead of the horse. Have they shown us enough for Doomsday coming up of who this guy is and what the threat is, and I guess they didn't really do that in the first Avengers movie, right? It was the Age of Ultron, and boom, all of a sudden there's an Ultron. Maybe we don't need to worry about it and think about it all that much. But Thanos, right, was such a built up thing that throughout all of the franchise, I'm kind of wondering. I want to know where Spidey fits into it.
So I think I've heard. I don't know if they're rumors or that they've announced what movies are coming out. So we know there's Doomsday and then there's Secret Wars. So it might be that Spidey does not super fit into this one that's coming out. And, I think if there was a direct tie, they would have showed us some more.
Right.
That, maybe with that post-credits teaser where they're showing the Spidey map out in space is something Secret Wars related to be like, guess what? He's not going to be in Doomsday. Or maybe he will and it's a pop-up or, a surprise or something. But that he doesn't factor majorly into the story.
Yeah.
And that we'll get a Secret Wars or something there.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about Doctor Doom, one of the biggest storylines was Battle Worlds, right? So that's when like they had to fight each other. All the Avengers, all the X-Men, they had to fight each other. So seeing that, and we saw a tease of that, and that, we saw Gambit and Shang-Chi, we saw, Cyclops come in, like we saw them kind of fighting each other. You also saw Steve Rogers as Nomad, which could mean that he's either a good guy or a bad guy, and he's going to fight on Battleworld. I don't know, but
if Mjolnir went to him, he has to be a good guy because he's still pure of heart and worthy. So I think he's a good guy in this.
Well, he did. Yeah, he did.
If you want to get technical, Jay.
Well, I mean, do we want to hit upon any points that we thought that weren't so good in the movie?
I wouldn't say not so good, but I don't know how to say this. I missed not seeing Daredevil. Like even Daredevil in prison, right? Because I mean, it's been out for long enough. If you haven't seen Daredevil season 2, see it. At the end of Daredevil season 2, he's in jail, right, for vigilantism, right? So he's in jail, but with the fact that like you have the vigilantes out and doing their thing, like for some reason I kind of wanted to see Daredevil, and I want to see Daredevil and Spidey, and I want to see Daredevil and Spidey and Punisher. I thought that would have been a really cool dynamic.
That's very comic-y, right?
It's not a critique.
In the comics all the time they're together.
Yeah. It's not so much a critique. It's just like, it's almost like I was waiting for it. Right, and I wasn't disappointed by not having it, but it would have been cool. I kind of think the Hulk storyline was a little rushed, or kind of like, like forced in a little bit. Because, obviously, look, I have this inhibitor that keeps me not Hulk. And hey, I'm working on an inhibitor too. And I'm going to use Hulk. I don't know. I think the Hulk was, not shoehorned in, but I would have loved to see, like Peter and Banner in a lab. Because Banner doesn't remember Peter either from before the spell from Doctor Strange.
But he's figuring it out, though.
He's
so clever. You can't get that by him.
No, but like seeing them in a lab, like that's what I love about Spider-Man. When we had, we had like Dr. Octavius and stuff in the Sam Raimi movies, like he had a relationship with these people. Like I would have loved to see like Peter Parker and Bruce Banner doing stuff, but that's splitting hairs. I mean, it's not a critique so much as like, hey, that would have been really cool.
I wonder if this movie was overstuffed on purpose. If they were like, so the MCU, we've been alluding to it, that it's had a rocky after Endgame and Infinity War. We mentioned all the time, like that. Those movies were so good, and it's been tough with the Kang Dynasty and the pivots they've had to make, and movies that work, movies that don't work. And
they just canceled Wonder Man, right? Wonder Man got good reviews.
Right?
They just canceled it.
Right. And I think that they're having a hard time with what their plan is for the next 10 or 20 years. And so they keep assuring us that there's a plan, but I wonder if this is one where they're like, we cannot mess this up. No. It's the big summer movie before, like, they're bringing out all the toys.
Yeah.
And this might have, because I thought this was a little overstuffed. We're like Hulk and Punisher and Jean Grey. And it was like a lot of storylines. Like Peter's got his own thing going on with like memory erase. And they didn't bring back Doctor Strange, who is very tied to the memories and the, all that. Just, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I
different
thought
part
this
of
is one
New York.
they didn't. Right, but they didn't want to miss on this one. Is some they're like, all right, if we give the fans Punisher, Punisher fighting Hulk, fighting Spider-Man, like, I think some of this was definitely candy.
Yeah,
because they didn't want to miss on this one.
We did get Punisher. He dropped a lot of S-bombs, and I think he dropped more S-bombs because he couldn't drop the F-bomb.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So like he I mean like. And their relationship too, like you could tell that like that relationship was solid. Like they've known each other for a while, have been working together for a while. Derek, what about your kind of nits to pick?
I don't think I really had anything. I had one plot story related thing, but the other one, I did feel it was a little, just overall a little long. That's all, the length of it, I could tell. I was like, oh, wow, we're strapped in and I'm going to have to go to the bathroom a couple times during this movie because it was a long one. It definitely was a long one. It's it's a long movie summer, apparently, with the Odyssey and this one. The other one, going on the kind of realm of why do I care, is who's damage control? I don't really... granted, I am not, immersed in the comic book world for it, but like, are they going to be like like an entity like Shield with this Hydra element? Are they significant? Why do I care about them? Do I care about them? How do they get control of all these different people? Is this something that's going to come out later? I didn't know. So I didn't really know whether or not there's any investment in who the heck Damage Control is.
So Damage Control, if we go back to Homecoming, they're basically the new departmental agency that was created. It's kind of like how DHS was created after 9/11. Damage Control was created after the Chitauri attack on New York as like a government agency responsible for this new tech and things like that. So Damage Control is trying to basically harness the power of these enhanced beings, right?
Yeah.
So, but like they're being sneaky about it because they're keeping Sarah Gray, right, Jean Grey's sister, trapped in a room where she can only see a vent that says VMAX, whatever, Vortex Max, whatever it is. And they're trying to basically harness her power, but it's probably for nefarious purposes.
Damage Control was very much like the cleanup crews. So like when you trash New York City, who's going to go in and like actually pull the rubble off the streets?
Well, that was Michael Keaton's job. That was the Vulture's job.
Right. So like that's Damage Control started that way, but it's getting very like Trask, very X-Men. The like stealing powers and trying to shut off mutant powers and try to give them to the people you want to give them to. Take powers and put them in other people. Like that's very X-Men-y.
Yep.
I feel like they've become kind of a catch-all between like the MCU and the new X-Men universe. Like the Sentinels. Like where's all that stuff come from?
That's a great bridge to kind of our final segment. Like, where do we go from here? Right? Where do we go from here? What do you think, Derek? Where do we go from here?
Honestly, that's why I asked the question, how does he play into Doomsday, right? Is where did this story fall? As Yelena would say, is it the small potatoes? Is it medium potatoes? Is it big potatoes?
You have to see the movie.
I don't know.
Makes a joke about potatoes.
Feel I wish I paid more attention to when they did the whole director's chair for Doomsday type of thing. If Tom Holland was on the back of it. Of one of those chairs, right? I mean, that's probably something
we should go back and watch the 14 hours of it.
Yes, because there was, there's a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of, old heroes that they're getting the call up for that movie. So that's a good question. And the one that I was really wondering, what does that Spidey tracker at the very end tell you going into outer space, right? I personally don't know. And I feel like this is one of the few Marvel movies that has actually thrown us a bone out there to show us that some of these things are connecting, that, X-Men is connecting to this world, right? That, the new Avengers is connecting into this world, that there's a road and it's going somewhere.
That was nice.
And I don't feel like we've gotten that a lot. Not even in Fantastic Four do we really get that, right? I mean, you had this new thing at the end of it, but it didn't connect at all. And this, at least, is making some connections. And the guy that has complained about the fact that there have been, 3 different, Spider-Man franchises happening, I personally feel like the Spider-Man franchise from this world is my favorite. Be quite honest with you.
Oh yeah, me too.
And the best. So what about you guys?
Ian hit it.
All right. So I have a thesis. Yes, I have a thesis. I have 2 main categories here. One is what I've said. I'm going to ring this bell again. I cannot believe they don't have Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales in this universe yet. All those characters, and those characters are amazing. We have Moon Knight.
Not even Spider-Gwen, but just Gwen Stacy, period. Because if MJ's not going to be his love interest, Gwen Stacy.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, I think those characters are so rich, and I've seen Marvel using them elsewhere. It might be because they're using them elsewhere. Miles has his own game. I'm playing Miles Morales on my PS5. Miles Morales has his own Sony animated. It can show just the legs that character has. He's had 2 of the best animated films in the past 10 years. I mean, amazing Spider-Verse movies.
Yep.
So these characters are so relevant and cool, and the fact that they're not capitalizing on that, I mean, I think that is a mistake. Then, pivoting over to X-Men. So very different Jean Grey that we got here, but it sets up that world. because there have been teases where like Miss Marvel and was, they use the word mutant. And we know that there's a director for the movie. The cast, we're not really sure about yet. I keep seeing rumors all over the internet, various casting for the X-Men movie. Maybe we'll get it in a couple weeks at D23, the big Disney convention. But at least we have, here's our Jean Grey, who also, we gotta say, right, she has the powers that Eleven has in Stranger Things. I mean, I was like, okay, Sadie has the superpowers and she's doing like mind powers. I thought it was great that I never once thought like, that's how 11 does it. Awesome. Enjoyed that. But they're setting up an X-Men world here. And Jean's got kind of a dark side. Jean was a little, she's not the
smidge of the
Jean
Phoenix
Grey that I saw. Yep. Well, right. Isn't there a little dark Phoenix in there? And that's, and also my daughters don't know Jean Grey. So showing it to my daughters, like I knew she's Dark Phoenix. I knew that like she has power levels that can freeze a whole city block. Like, she's crazy powerful. So that was cool to see. And and I think that they're setting up an X-Men, but she's in this universe. That's where it's getting a little, I'm interested to see how they do this with incursions and Doomsday and all that jazz. Because now we have a Jean Grey that's in Spider-Man's universe. Not that they're in this orb that's going to crash into incursion until there's only one super world or something. So
here's my thinking on that, right? Where do mutants come from, right? That's the question that I had when I was watching this, right? Where do mutants come from? How does Jean get her powers? And you could trace it back to a couple of I think we talked about this on the way home in the car. She could have got her powers from the snap, right? The cosmic radiation or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
Could be the fact that all these beings have been interacting with Earth. I don't know. Or like exposure to like different radiations or something like that. So they have some questions that need to be answered, which bodes well for the future, right?
Yes.
They can go into it. Mutation, it just, in the X-Men universe for the movies since 2000, it just happened. Mutants just happen. It's evolution. But I think in the MCU, like we're going to have some sort of like, this is where mutation came from, and that's going to play a role in the story. Also you see in kind of some of the teasing stuff, you see Sentinels in the Doomsday stuff. Like to see not real Sentinels, but to see Sentinels designed the way they are in the books instead of like what we saw in Days of Futures Past, I think is going to be really great. I think that this movie laid the groundwork, albeit very small, for the X-Men franchise to go forward. And finally, I love Hugh Jackman. He's my Wolverine. He's always been my Wolverine. Now we have a new generation, right? We're going to see kind of maybe some of the final, I'd hate to be, dark, but, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are not spring chickens anymore, right? No, to do these movies, right? It's a lot of stress. It's not Shakespeare in the Park.
Absolutely. Right? No.
It's a lot of stress, makeup, shooting, everything like that. And, we're going to need a new vessel for the X-Men. And I think this is starting it.
Like, right, someone like Wolverine, you're like, no one could ever play him like Hugh Jackman. Like, I feel like that's something that people say. But instead, it's really interesting to see all the different takes. Is like, we had James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender.
And
they did something, right? So it's like to see a new generation get to interpret and modernize or do their take on it. That's so cool to see. And I love Hugh Jackman, but
Could you imagine Alan Richardson as Wolverine?
Oh my goodness!
I thought you were gonna say Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman.
Snick.
Hey there,
Can you imagine? Could you imagine?
Well, think about this. Growing up, who was our Superman?
Yeah,
Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
No one could have been Superman other than Christopher Reeve.
Right. People said that. Right? Oh no, there's no one that'll ever do it better. Right.
And then the Brandon Routh movie.
But we're not counting that one. Then we go Dean Cain. Nope, not that one.
But
guess again.
How popular was Smallville?
Tom Welling.
And that's a different take on the Superman franchise. And then David Cornsweet last year nailed it.
Skip over Henry Cavill Clark like that?
And he nailed Superman, which is tough to do. It's like when we have Batman, right? It's hard to nail both Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Right.
Right. George Clooney, played an excellent Bruce Wayne for all the 5 minutes he was Bruce Wayne in the film.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer was an excellent Bruce Wayne, not a great Batman.
This is a whole episode. Go back in time. We did this on
right. Michael Keaton.
Bruce Wayne, Batman.
Michael Keaton, great Batman. Right. So that's kind of what I think. I mean, to kind of sum up and close out here, I think we have a great roadmap to bring in the X-Men, and I am wicked excited. I love the X-Men books. I love what they stood for. Being different is cool. Being different is okay. Right. That's what the X-Men are all about. I mean, they paralleled the Holocaust with it. Right.
Yeah.
Rounding up people, putting them in camps. That was the Holocaust. And then Stan Lee turned that into mutation as a parallel. Makes you think.
Someone wise once said it's an embarrassment of riches that we have.
We are an embarrassment of riches. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think just to close it out, I mean, go see it. And I want to see it in IMAX. It's in IMAX, right? It's in IMAX formats?
No,
it's
so
not?
my issue is Odyssey is on every single screen.
Yeah.
And when I was taking my daughters, it's like, do I do 3D or Dolby or just standard?
Lasers.
Right? Yeah.
Is it on IMAX anywhere?
I don't know. I couldn't find it near us.
I will say 3D was good, though.
Yeah.
There was
3D
definitely
was good.
things with depth, and I thought 3D, it was a good movie for 3D, and it actually took advantage of some of that. So it's not disappointing to see in 3D at all. Yeah, exactly.
The webs. All right. Well, go see it. Give it 2.
Yes. Let us know what you thought.
Yeah. Yeah. In the comments down there. Are they up here? No, they're down there, right?
Down.
In the
basement.
basement.
Yeah. Basement.
Imagine if they
basement.
were up there though.
Yeah.
And like it just like thought bubbles coming out of our heads.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Well, so just to wrap it up, it's been a while since we've recorded, right? Life finds a way to get in the way. But we got some really great episodes to close out season 3. I know we've been on a little hiatus, but we will be back with episodes coming soon. So please stay tuned. Social media, it's all down there in the comments and in the bio. And for the 3-dimensional dads, I'm Jay.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Ian.
And we'll see you later.